Hi guys, welcome back to our little Cornerstone chats. Our next letter on the alphabet for today's devotion is C, and we thought it would be a good idea from both experience and from some of the things that we chat about with you guys to discuss cutting. I first would like to approach this by just saying what we know about cutting. So what we do know are different reasons why people do it. You will know if you've experienced this phenomenon, you will understand why you do it, or maybe you don't and you want to express why you do it and you want to talk to somebody, which is why we're here. But what we do know is that it is easier to tend a cut than it is to tend a world full of problems. So oftentimes you will find that you cut because the world is just too overwhelming, your life situation is too overwhelming, your problems are too overwhelming, etc. And I know it's a really serious subject and you're thinking maybe you don't have a problem with it, but there might be somebody who does, and there might be somebody you need to help. So also people cut because they hate themselves. They cut because they're feeling pressure. They cut because they're depressed, as we were talking about earlier. But for me, this ties back into your fearfully and wonderfully made, and that if you just step back, take a breath, and we can come up with some good habits to stop these habits. And if you want to talk about those habits, I can do maybe so at the end a couple of things that you can do, some techniques that you can do. And though it is great to find God's view on it and to have a spiritual aspect on it, you do need some practical help. So if this is an issue, I'll give you like maybe 2 tips to help yourself with this, okay? So before I get to that, we'll end with that. So you guys go ahead and share what you want to share about this.
Well, I think it's easier to kind of pick a few Bible verses and kind of expand on them, because I think something like cutting and self-harm, you can really easily get carried away with talking about it and being like, you should do this, you should do that.
Yeah, the shoulds.
But especially like this topic, I think it's very important to kind of rein in personal opinions, I think. So I do have 2 or 3 Bible verses that I think really tie in. And I wonder which one I'll start with. I think I'll go for Matthew. So Matthew 11:28 basically says that if we take these burdens and these feelings of anxiety and fear before it gets to the point where we feel as though we can't take it anymore, if we lift them up to the Lord and give them up in prayer or through talking to someone or through someone else praying for you, He will carry those burdens. And when He takes those burdens, it means that we get this rest. And rest, I think we will talk about exhaustion at a later point, so I won't really expand on rest per se, but Matthew quite a lot, I suppose, along with a lot of the other Gospels, kind of talks about Jesus' journey, obviously. But this verse specifically here, Jesus is just like, just give me your burdens. He's asking us to give Him everything that we can. And I do think that's important.
Right.
Because one of the other things about rest, I know I shouldn't be talking about rest, is about cutting, but cutting's very, like, from personal experience, along with talking to other people, it's very end of the road. Like, it's at night time, it's when these thoughts kind of get too much and there's nothing else that you can do. It's always a last ditch effort to do something
to fix it quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let me out.
So then with those thoughts that kind of lead you to that place, because it's not, you don't just come home from school or wake up one day and just be like, I want to cut myself. It's not that. It's a process, and it's a journey. I don't really want to call it a journey, but it's a constant feeling, and that feeling just at one point
builds.
Yeah, and at that one point it just gets too much. So there's another verse, 2 Corinthians 10:5, and Robert spoke about it in our last video in regards to body positivity, but it's about capturing our negative thoughts and teaching them to obey Christ. And that's when, before these thoughts kind of snowball to the point where you can't do anything else, you physically cannot move without doing something to harm yourself, take those thoughts, take them to someone,
Yeah.
or take them to God.
That's a technique.
Yeah.
First technique, take it to God. Second technique, take it to someone. So those are just a couple techniques we'll go back to.
Yeah, no, totally. And that's just something that, taking those thoughts, really catching yourself, being like, oh, I shouldn't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when you can go to someone and be like, you don't need to outrightly be like, I feel like this. You can just be like, I think I need some encouragement here. I think I need some positive thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's personal.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hugely, hugely personal.
Yeah,
but
yeah, no, it is. It is very personal. It is very down to the person and how they cope and their personality and whatnot. Did you have anything to add to that, Rob?
I would say, like, my own experience of it is I've been the friend of someone who's dealt with this. And for me, like, the things that I have learned is, the first one is when they confide in you, that's them being vulnerable. And I think if you're in that position and you're listening to this and someone's told you that they're doing this, don't make them feel shamed or guilty.
No.
Just listen without any judgment there.
Mm-hmm.
And in Galatians 6:1-2 says, bear one another's burdens, like, come alongside them, but be careful, like, you don't fall into
Guard your heart.
like, guard your heart, guard your mind, because you want to make sure that you're being accountable yourself, but they're wanting to be accountable. So you, like, check in with them, like, get them to speak to someone, as they spoke about. Pray for them is another one. So that's the only experience that I've had, is just loving on them the way God would have loved them, listening to them, letting them, giving them practical advice, but making sure, like you tell them, like, you can't do this, but, like, keep doing the positive things that you're doing, and kind of check up on them. Don't just be like, oh, I'll be praying, and leave them on red and walk away and forget about it, because you want to be in there because they've opened up to you. So that's from my own experiences. You just want to be a witness to them, you want to love them, and you want to listen without making them feel guilty or ashamed.
Yeah, I think that's it. No guilt, no shame. We all struggle with our issues. Some of us eat too much. Some of us over-exercise. Some of us drink. Some of us smoke weed. So you're all finding a coping mechanism, and this is the thing. We don't want to rely on those things. We don't want to rely on the other things to be the thing that holds us up. So we want to go back to Scripture, build our foundation on Scripture, and find a way to cope with that. Now, the way to cope with that is to not judge somebody. Is to say, how can I help you? How can we as a community, because it will take more than one person, it will take a church.
Absolutely.
So be in your community, find your people, and get in there and, like, be super supportive. So there's a few techniques you can do. Ashlyn brought up one, which was to seek the Lord and pray. The second one, because the thing with cutting is that you're going to find that it's such an overwhelming sensation to cut, because your body has built up a reaction to say, this gives me release. So if I go and do this, I'm going to feel released. Just like if I go and have a drink, just like if I feed myself, or if I overdrink, or if I smoke weed, it's all going to provide something for you biologically that shows your body that it's released. So what's going to happen is, if you choose to do that, you're going to get yourself into a double circle where it will be very hard to stop. So you do need a community. So first of all, I would say pray. Second, reach out to your people and know, like, what people, God, raise that person up so I know who that people is, so that I'm not just giving information to somebody who can't help me. Or that someone that will turn on me or judge me or whatever. Then, and don't be afraid, like, just give it a go. And then I would say start putting some plans into action with that community. So there's an app that you can put on your phone called, I think it's called Self-Harm, or we'll link it down below. And it's about putting in a program so that when you feel the temptation to cut, there's a certain program that you can go through, whether it be to call somebody, whether it be to go do an activity, whether it be, there's all kinds of activities that you can do. And before you go, that won't work, give it a go first. Before you poo-poo it, because it's possible. So there's two aspects. You're the person who's doing the cutting. So let's look into how you can use that app to help you, how you can reach out to prayer in your community. If you feel like you're in severe danger, there are organizations that you can call that can help you right away. So in my experience, you can always turn to Chris's house, which is local to the North Lanarkshire area. So you could look to Chris's house. We have Sam H. We have a lot of organizations that we'll link below that you can turn to, okay? Then if you're the helper, if you're the person that is that person's leaning on, you have a duty of care. So remember that if you believe that person's in danger, you need to notify somebody to that. So you're not an adult if you're youth, and we're talking to our youth at our church. You need to hand that over to an adult. So that would be your parents, that would be your youth leader, your church pastor, whoever that would be. It could be a principal at school, your head teacher, somebody that you can talk to. It won't get anybody in trouble. What it will do, it will bring more support out. It'll bring more support. And my experience in this community, in the area that I live, is that there's loads of people wanting to help people and support people.
100%.
Yeah, and we've experienced that. I mean, Ashla works with a few organizations, Robert works with the schools, and I work with charities and churches. So there is always going to be something. So with that, don't be too hard on yourselves. There's like a way to release pressure that isn't just related with that. And I know that we do a lot of don't do and do and a lot of don't do and do. That has to be said.
Yeah.
On top of the fact that we know that those do's and don't do's are extremely difficult. They're not prescriptive. We know they're hard. So like when we say give it to God, we don't mean it in a cliche. We genuinely mean give that to God and then let's work that out in a community. But you have to belong to a community. So those of you who are at Cornerstone, you know that you can reach out to us. And don't think about it, just do it. And then there's those who don't have community. Find community. Reach out to us on Instagram or on Facebook or onto our webpage, and you can contact any one of us. You can leave a message down below. We'll get a hold of you. So with that, does anyone else have anything to say?
I don't think so. I think I said everything that I had to.
I think you summed it up pretty well.
Right, guys, we love you. We're praying for you, and we want you to have a really good day today. So we'll see you next time. Bye.
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 Bye.